you are applying now, you will start with the ongoing one, that is BTech third sem. But then imagine if you are applying after you have completed BTech, you got your certificate of BTech degree, then you will start with the BTech completed one, highest first. And then we add the name of the degree. Okay, it's BTech, BSc, BA, or 12th or 10th, and then board or university. I hope you can understand that. Okay, board is applicable for 10th and 12th, and university is applicable for graduation and masters and for PhD as well. And then institution location. Okay, the location of the institute. Okay, very briefly, it's not that you have to add it very elaborately, so you can just add it in this way, that Assam University Silchar, but then you should mention it, keeping in mind where you are sending it. As I told you, while you are writing the details of the locations, please keep in mind where you are sending. If you are sending outside India, you should add Assam University Silchar, Assam, India. Okay, if it's outside Assam, it should be Assam University Silchar, Assam. So that's the reason the location is important. Okay, even if it's just one single word. And duration, when you say duration, you just don't write 4 years. It should be written in terms of month and year. So you can't just write BTech 4 years. Okay, most of have some idea that BTech is 4 years. Okay, you have to mention the duration, like 2019 to 2023. So we know that which exact 4 years. Okay, because it's from that we will know, your recruiter will know that if there is a break, or maybe you are just freshly graduated, or there was a time gap after you graduated. Say for example, you graduated in 2023 and you are applying in 2025. So naturally the recruiter will ask you, what did you do for 2 years after you finished your graduation? So this exact duration is important. Don't just mention 2 years. Which 2 years? Okay, and percentage of CGPA, whatever you got for that particular degree, MTech or BTech. So we started like that. Okay, say for example, imagine you completed your MTech. So for MTech, these details, and then BTech, these details, then 12th, and then 10th. And for percentage of CGPA. The next is optional. Okay, specialization or special paper or elective or subject studied, it's optional. Add it only if that particular subject that you are mentioning has some relevance with your target job or target position. Okay, if you are applying something related to physics, then mention that you studied physics at 12th. Okay, so that means that physics is not something entirely new. Say for example, they want volunteer for an NGO that work with animals. Okay, so they are asking to submit your CV to become volunteer for an NGO that work with animals. Okay, stray animals or street animals. Okay, there are many NGOs like Blue Cross and many other things. So they want volunteer for that. So if you had a subject in your 12th like zoology, then probably you can mention, because that is somehow, so that means it says that you have some knowledge about animals. Okay, so that's how you can highlight. So mention specialization only if that is important. Okay, you want to apply, you want to take part in a survey. Okay, you want to conduct one survey, or you want to become the research assistant of a survey, and if you can mention that you had mathematics or statistics as your major subject, maybe that will count. Okay, so maybe the statistics will be important for a survey related activity. So think very hard. It's not that just add all the list of the 10 or the 8 subjects that we studied. No, specialization or major. If you had any major, then only add it. So that's the reason it's optional, and always add the major or the most relevant one. Add only if you have something relevant to add. Don't just add to fill up the space. And if if that degree is MS or MTech or PhD level, then add the title of thesis. The title of thesis is something, it's almost like a book. Okay, it's a document. It's a huge document. There is some page requirement or maybe something like that. You write it. Okay, if for MS, for MTech, for PhD, you write your thesis, which looks almost like a book. So if you are giving details of MS, MTech, or PhD, you should add the title of your thesis. Okay, because you work in that area for quite a good number of years. For PhD, you work on that particular area for 5 years. For MTech, you work on that particular area for 1 year or 6 months. So by looking at your title, I will understand what is your specialization. Okay, what is your research competency, what is your research area. So that your title will give idea about your area of research. So go and check a faculty profile of anyone. Okay, check, open IIT something and go to the computer science page, check the faculty profile. You will understand that how they write their CVs. Okay, any your university, NIT, IIT, some foreign university, go and check and for faculty profile. You will see that how they structure it, and this is how we write it, our educational qualification. And then I'll move to the next component, that is professional experience. But if you have professional experience, start with your professional experience. If you don't have professional experience, start with your educational qualification, because your professional experience always carries greater weight than even your highest educational qualification. Okay, so if you have professional experience, start with your professional experience. I started with educational qualification because most of you will be familiar with the structure, this board, institution, duration. I thought that I will give you some idea about the structure, and then I'll move to professional experience, which can be optional for many. What happened? What happened in the chat box? Soham, you want to say something? Type? How can you type this? This is so difficult to type. 0.0 enter, 0.0 enter. What happened, Soham? You are all right, okay?
No, ma'am. Basically, the the keypad got typed.
Okay. It's okay.
Sorry,
it's okay. Okay. So, if I was talking about professional experience, if you have professional experience, start with your professional experience. If you don't have, start with your educational qualification. Even for professional experience, if you have multiple, okay, say for example, you are applying for your 4th or your 5th job, so you already have experience of 3-4 jobs. Either you start with the most relevant one, or you start with the latest one. I guess I gave you this example, like you had been working with say anything, say Flipkart. You had been working with Flipkart before lockdown, and during lockdown you lost your job, and this economic depression that happened after lockdown was there for 1 year or 2 years. So in these 2 years, after you lost the job with Flipkart, you started some small business, or you worked in a part-time, or you had been pursuing a short degree certificate course, okay, or maybe you had been part of a small startup. Okay, so and then after 2 years the economy again started to gain its strength, and then again you are applying. Okay, so for imagine that situation. So for that, your latest one will be that small startup or the small business that you had been part of, isn't it? But then what will be the most relevant one or the most important one? Maybe the Flipkart one. So not necessarily you will always have to start only with you have to follow only this reverse chronological order. If you think that you did some job 2-3 years back which is very close to the present one, start with that one, because as I told you, throughout your CV, anytime please keep in mind they might drop the CV. Okay, so that's the reason you should always provide the most important things first. Even for professional experience, they can read the first one and think that okay, you are not eligible, and they will drop it. So there is no point writing something less important in the first place and writing the most important at the last place. Throughout your CV, this is just one static rule. The most important comes first. If the latest one is the most important, add first. If the something that happened before is the most important, add that. Okay, so it's always the most important first. One single rule that is static for any format of CV. You can add paid or the non-paid job. Okay, say for example, you did internship for 6 months or for 1 year, for 6 months, and you did not get any salary because you just was an intern. Okay, you went there as a trainee. So you learned how to work. Okay, you learned the ambience of corporate or industry. So probably you did not get paid, but then you learned skill. That learning experience is important. What you learned in that 6 months. So even if it's a paid one or a non-paid one, you can add. Provide designation. Okay, and always as you are providing designation, be descriptive. Okay, as I told you, I can't just write faculty, I have to write assistant professor. Okay, so something like that. Okay, you will all once you enter an office, you will get a card, you will get a designation which will be mentioned on your appointment letter. Pick up the word from your appointment letter, it will mention your designation very clearly. So use the descriptive designation. And you mention the organization where you worked, you mention the duration, that from this year, this month to this year, this month. Okay, and what role or what responsibility you had. This is optional. Okay, because as I told you that throughout your CV, you will see that there are certain things which I have mentioned as optional. Add them if you want to make your CV look longer with technical details. This is technical details. Okay, if you when you talk about your role, when you talk about your skill that you learned in the last job, when you talk about your responsibilities of the last job, you are talking about technical details only. So this is how you can make your CV look little longer with substantial content, with good content. And you can also provide URL, okay, the link address of the company or the industry or the small startup you had been part of. So don't add URL if it's a well-known company. Okay, it's very well-known. For that you don't need to add. But then it's not that well-known. It's a small startup. Okay, so then for that you can add the URL of the web address of the company or the organization, so that if I want, I can click on the link and I can check what type of work they are doing. Okay, so once I visit the company profile, I'll get the idea of these are the kind of works that they are doing. So I probably have the I'll get the idea of the status, the profile, the nature of the work they are doing, their clients, and all these things. I will get the details from the web page itself. So if not well known, but then if it's very well known, there is no point adding it. Okay, Shayantan writes, ma'am, what if the internship and the job applying for are of different genre? Should we mention them? Yes. If you have mentioned. Okay, it's better than having nothing. Okay, so the internship might be in different domain, but then you learn some basic skills like time management, stress management. At least that you learned, okay? If whatever job you are doing, whatever job you did internship say for example in electronics related thing, okay, and when you are applying in artificial intelligence related things, okay. So maybe your internship was in hardware, or when you are applying in software. But then add internship. If you have internship, it's better than having nothing, okay. So you can add, okay. But then if you have experience of related field, then add the related one. If you don't have anything, add internship, okay, because something is better than nothing. The next is, if you go and check the previous list, you will see that the next one is publication. What is publication? Say, for example, you wrote an article, you wrote a research paper, or you published an article in the newspaper. So that is your publication. Newspaper publication is not that important, but then it's counted. So if you wrote a research article, so these are your publication. But then please keep in mind, don't get baffled, don't get stressed by so many things that I'll be talking about. Okay, I'll be talking about publication, I'll be talking about many other things. Okay, don't get baffled, because you are just 19 or 20 years old, isn't it? So all these things might seem meaningless to you, because you actually have 10-12 years to achieve all these things. So because I'm teaching you CV, I have to talk about all the components. So you might feel a kind of disconnect between what I'm teaching, because you don't have a professional experience. Time and again I'm talking about skill. You might think that, what's that? It's okay, because naturally because you don't have any professional experience, you find a kind of disconnect, because most of you don't have any publication. You might think that, what is this? But then once you have publication, you will understand that, okay, this makes sense. So the next one is publication. Publication is something which is valued in academic jobs, okay. Especially if you are applying for teaching related job or research related job. Say for example, you are applying for the position of a scientist, or you are applying for the position of a research associate, okay. Or maybe you are applying for a fellowship for research. We also apply for postdoctoral fellowship, or any student fellowship, student research fellowship. Even for that we send CV, isn't it? So for those CVs, something related to research, something related to academics, something related to teaching, we add publication if we have, okay. For in those areas, publication is generally valued. And what we add in our publication? In the chat box. Okay, so if you have multiple publication, you can either with the latest one or the most important one. Say if I have two publications, imagine I have two publications. One is in literature, the other is in language. So if I am applying for a job where I will be teaching language, I will add my language publication first and then my literature publication. If I am applying for a job where I am expected to teach literature, I will add my literature article first. So is for you, if you are applying for some hardware related job, and if you have some publication related to hardware, you start with the hardware one, okay. Also, even here, which one is the most relatable one, which one is the most important one, which has some kind of connection with your target job. So each section of your CV is customized based on the requirement to build a kind of connection or bridge between that particular section and the target post. The target post can be can be of any job, can be of any position, can be for some fellowship. If you have many, say for example, if you go and check some of your teachers faculty profile, you will see that once they become professors, they generally have 20-25 publications, many publications they have. So for those cases, but then you can't have 25 publications in your CV, isn't it? 25 publications will probably take 2-3 pages. So for what you do that, do in such situation, you choose any most important 3 or 5. Okay, in case of numerous publications. So you discard many publications. Imagine that you spend so many days, so much of effort writing those, but then because you are bound by space, you will choose any 3 or any 5 best. And when you add those publications, you don't write it as a paragraph. You don't write it that I published one article in this journal, and not like that. Okay, there is one standard formatting there to provide all the details, and these details will include author's name, title, journal, book, year, page number, publication house, all these things. I'll give you the format. And if it was published online, then you provide the link, because in case if you provide the link, I can click on the link and check your article and come to know that what kind of researcher you are, or maybe what kind of a writer you are, okay, how much command you have over your area of research. So if it's available online, you provide the link. And now I was talking about, okay, if you go back and check any of your textbooks, you will see that towards the end of the textbook, there will be one section with the heading work cited or references. The heading of the section will be work cited or references. Okay, and under it, you will see that there is this list of works. Those list of works can be book chapter, can be journal article, can be some content that is available that was published online, or that can be lecture, even a photograph, anything, something that you used that's something that was used to write that book. So you can go back and check the last few pages of your book. You will see that there is a section like work cited and references. And if you look closely, you will understand that all the entries are written maintaining one particular format. Okay, those format might vary from one book to another book, but then for one particular book, all the entries will be of similar format. There are few names of those formats. There are 2-3 formats. The two most popular formats are MLA format and APA format. MLA, the full form is Modern Languages Association. You don't need to write them down. Okay, I'm just telling you because I use the acronym. Okay, because you will remain confused what is MLA and what is MP. So MLA has nothing to do with the politics. It is the Modern Languages Association. Okay, it's this association which first started writing in that format, and then many people followed. So that's the reason it's called MLA format, because they started it. So is for APA. The full form of APA is American Psychological Association. American Psychological Association first used one format, and after that many people followed, and we call it APA format. So you can either provide it in MLA format or APA format. These are the most popular, but then there are other formats available. But then the textbooks that you will be searching will either have MLA format or will have APA format. So when you are providing your publication details, you can provide the details of either in these two formats. And how do they look like? It looks something like this. Okay, So if it's an MLA formatting, how you should provide the details. If it's a book, your surname, comma, your name, and then the name of the book. The name of the book should be in italics. The formatting is removed here because that is the feature of the chat box. They remove all the formatting, but then the name of the book should be in italics. Okay, and Harvard UP is Harvard University Press. That is the publication house. And 1969 is the year when the book was first published. So there is one particular. So all the books will have this formatting. The name of the book will be in italics, and you have to provide the details of the year, the publication house. You can't change the position. Okay, you can't write 1969 first and then Harvard University Press. No, nothing like that. Okay, and the full stop, comma, everything is very fixed. And if it's an ebook published online, so you provide the surname and then the name and then the name of the book. All the light we cannot see. It should be in italics, and it's Kindle edition and the platform where it was published, and it was published in 2014. So at the end of today's class, please go back and check the works cited or reference section of your book. You will understand. Okay, at this stage you might feel little baffled at what these things are. That is because you don't have any publication. Once you have publication, this section will make sense. Okay, if it's a book chapter, it's possible that in a book there are 10 chapters, and these 10 chapters are written by 10 different people, and you are one of them. So because you wrote one, you contributed one chapter in one book, so that is your contribution, that is you wrote, and that's your research publication, so it should come under publication. So how you provide details of book chapter. Okay, so Louis Montrose is the name of the author. So your surname, comma, your name, full stop, and then the name of the chapter. Okay, there is this name of the chapter within quotation marks. Okay, the name of the chapter is within quotation marks, and then full stop, and then the name of the book, the body of the queen, gender, and role. It should be role in the country world 1500 to 2000. So that is the name of the book. It should be in italics. The formatting is removed, but then ideally it should be in italics. Edited by this and this, published in this year and page. So your particular book chapter is from page 61 to 87. And then for journal article, you provide surname and then you provide name, and then within quotation you provide the name of the article that you published in the journal. And what is the name of the journal? Music Educators Journal. Music Educators Journal should be in italics. And then generally for journal, we have journal number, volume 103, number 1, 2016 is when it was published. PP is page number. So your particular journal, that is educating the music user, is from 64 to 69. And Jester is an online platform where you can access your article. So if I click on this, I'll be able to read this article. So when, as I told you, if there is online version available, you provide the online link. Okay. So this section might look little confusing, but then once you have publication, you will understand these things. Okay. But then whenever you are providing the details of your publication, you should follow format, and these are the formats. Okay, and you can also check the format in the works cited or work reference section of any of your textbook, any book. Each book will come with a reference section. Okay, next we provide the details of our conference presentation. Okay, imagine that School of Technology is organizing one conference on image processing. Okay, so that is the general theme of the conference, image processing. and you presented a paper in that conference. So that's your conference presentation. So you can add the details of the conference presentation in your CV. Okay, so even here, if you have multiple conference presentation, because towards when you reach the age late 40s or 50s, you generally have many conference presentations. So you choose the most important ones, and while choosing them, you also either you can put it in the form of reverse chronological order or the most important one.